How you doing, my girl?
I am doing really cool, very chilled. I've had a very chilled, productive day, I guess.
Okay, good.
Which is good. And so, how was your day?
What have I been doing today? My day's been, well, it started off actually a little bit rocky. We've had someone a little bit close to home pass away through the coronavirus.
Oh,
yeah. So it's become a little bit more, well, quite a lot more real. But you know, we've pulled together as a family, and we're all good in the hood. Yeah,
definitely. It's funny because I was speaking to a pastor today who had it, and it's just like it's hard. You pray for others who are in it and may have lost someone, but when it's closer to home, boy, it's a whole different level. It's different.
And you know what was really crazy is that we did go to the family's house, but we all stayed outside and we were all sort of social distancing, so we can't even really it was waves through the window. Yeah. We can't, it was very movie like.
Yeah,
it was crazy. But it's all good.
We move on. We move on. Yeah. So tonight, I'm gonna get you to introduce yourself, your name, what you do. And then we're going to get into it because we need to talk about you, how you started all this thing, and then so that we can really get into some nitty-gritty questions. And by the way, if you have any questions for Adaze, anything to do with, relationship tips, being a single or marriage, anything to do with marriage, any tips to do, to spice things up or whatever it might be. Seriously, ask the questions. If you put your questions, there's a little question mark box to your right of your comment section. There's like a little box. Put your questions in there, and then I will get the answers to Adaze. We'll be able to go through them, and that. So So Adaze, sorry, I have a drink with me. It's not alcoholic. It's just like a little. I needed something.
Cheers, love.
I needed it. I was like, I need something today. I'm like, let me get something.
Yes, Queen T, do your thing.
I literally put a handful of nuts. I was like, Dara. I'm hungry. I was thirsty. Excited, man. Okay, over to you. Tell us your name and basically what you do, what you're about, and then we're going to start. We're going to get into it.
Sure. So my name is Adaze Chiwoko. I am married to the amazing Mr. Chiwoko, as everyone calls him now. I have 3 boys and a male cat, so I'm definitely queen of my household. But outside of that, I run a marriage and relationship coaching business. And I've just launched a matchmaking service as well to go hand in hand with that. I know. I'm trying to help you all out.
We're going to talk about it later. So don't wait. Don't talk about that just now because we're gonna talk about it. So yeah, I can't wait.
No worries. So yeah, I started Marriage for Real a few years back. It almost started by accident when I was really passionate about letting people know that infidelity did not have to be the end of their marriage at all. As somebody who had been through infidelity and was able to systematically, strategically, using principles and keys, build and create the marriage that we had always desired. And 10 years going into 11 years on since that time, our marriage just keeps getting better and better, and it's what I class as my greatest blessing. Wow. So I wanted to share that with people and teach other people the strategies of how they can do the same. But we build intimacy, connectivity, communication, create your marriage.
Yeah, absolutely, which I think is important. Like, I know that, okay, I'm not married yet. I'm single. But I think for me, it's even just as you speak, it's things to note down for later on in the future. So if you're single or if you're, wanting to get into a relationship, I think this is the kind of thing for you so that you can take something, glean something from it, and then apply it if it needs be to your own relationship or whatever you do. So you mentioned something about what happened in your marriage. Let's talk about that a little bit and then kind of delve into it and then let that flow into like how marriage for real started. So what happened in your marriage that was a turning point, I guess, for the catalyst for all this stuff to start?
Yeah. So, we were like any other sort of married couple who gets married and thinks that we're the most in-loved couple in the world. And then life hits and you discover lots of things about yourself, and actually, with hindsight, realize that you were not prepared for this. You didn't have the right tools or skills or knowledge to do it. And so first baby came along. I remember one night just really being quite new with the Lord and really excited with the Lord. And at that time, God really speaks to you loud and you're like, oh my God, he speaks to me. So I remember spending time with the Lord. I remember it was October 2008, 2009, it's one of those years. And I remember the Lord saying clearly to me that you were about to go through a storm, and that storm is going to get worse before it gets better. And I was just like, the Lord spoke to me. Didn't even think about what he actually said. And, true to his word, by January, it's like the whole atmosphere of my home had changed. Like we weren't best communicators anyway. My attitude really stunk and all sorts was going on anyway. But it was like ramped up, from that January onwards, and we were fighting over everything, and there was so much conflict. It got so bad. It got to the point where, I looked at my husband. I was like, I hate you. And he was like, I hate you too. We wouldn't share got bad. Wouldn't share the same bed. Like, he would sleep downstairs on a rickety old camp bed. And it was crazy. We had a baby. We had baby number one. And in the midst of that, had baby number two while all this was going on. Yeah. And, cut a long story short, it went on for a while, and then it came out why, there was this sort of big rift between us. And it was because, my husband was cheating on me at that time.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, all right. So, when did you find out that he actually was, and like, did you retaliate in any kind of way? Because the natural thing is, you cheated on me, you cried.
I will cheat on
you. So how did you find out that he had been? And
so finding out was, a woman kind of knows. First of all. Oh, yeah, you kind of know, yeah. And that's a gift, and it's something actually now that I teach women to move into a little bit more. But that intuition tells you something. But obviously, you need that sort of hard, firm truth. And like most men or people that have got something to hide, phone was a big deal, right? He protected his phone like it was the crown jewels. I couldn't look at it. I couldn't even breathe in the phone's direction. So one day, I don't know whether it was, I'd been trained along a certain line. I don't know whether the Lord just opened things up for me on this day, but he was tired. I think he'd gotten fed up as well. I think the whole thing of lying and sneaking, he got tired. One day he was in bed and it was early morning, it was near Christmas, and I said, oh babe, let me just grab your phone because I need your brother's phone number. I want to just ask him what to get his children for Christmas. For some reason he said okay. I was like, I took that phone, and us women, we can turn into real skillful detectives when we need to. So I took the phone. As I was running down the phone, I was on that password down the stairs because I knew I only had a couple of minutes before he realized what had just happened. Ran down the stairs, got in. And so I saw the texts and the messages that I needed to see to confirm what I'd been feeling anyway. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh wow. I don't know how. I'm not quite sure how I would feel if I ever kind of found that kind of stuff out.
Oh, it was devastating. It was like my world just went crumbled.
Okay, so now that you knew that he had cheated, what did you then ask him, like, why did you do it? Or did you deep down already know why he did it? And what steps did you then take to resolve the whole issue?
So people really, as a marriage relationship coach and somebody who has completely radically transformed their marriage. You expect me to say, oh, when I found out, I just lay beside him and I forgave him. No, I went absolutely ballistic. I called the girl, threatened her. I kicked him out of the house. Like, it went crazy. It went crazy.
It's coming out in you, eh?
I was like, it went crazy. I was trying to be a Christian on the phone to the girl, like, you know what? I will not pray for God to do what God should do to you, okay? You know what? You are lucky that I'm a Christian, because if I decide that I'm not forgiving you, yet the tears that I've cried, my God, you know those Christian kind of prayers where it's really a threat, right? If I begin to pray these dangerous kind of prayers on you, but you know what? I'm not going to do that. Right? So that's what I was on, and he left.
Wow.
Didn't really, obviously there was like, why did you do this? But what was funny was that up until then, I felt like I was in my personal hell anyway, and I had described it as that, like, this marriage right now is my personal hell. So, as I was praying, I was always just like, Lord, just make a way of escape for me, right? Mm-hmm. And so, in a way, I was like, all this coming out was my way of escape, because I was like, well, I know that divorce can happen through infidelity. I am out for the count. I'm gone, right? God had a different plan. Cut a long story short, he'd stayed out for a while, and, I was praying. I think it'd been like a few months, but then a couple of months or so. And the Lord said, you'd be crazy to let this man go.
Really?
I literally did that to the Lord.
What?
I was like, crazy to let him go. I'd be crazy to let him back in here. Did you not see the hell that I've been through?
Yeah.
Now, I've got to chop things up a little bit because it's a whole long story. But in the build up toward this, I had really been doing certain things, praying certain prayers, using certain strategies that brought things to the head so that things could be rebuilt. But obviously, operating in flesh, I felt like things had come to the head to finish. But actually, there was a different plan, and the Lord said I should take him back. I am a woman of faith, so when the Lord speaks, I do what he says. And if he says that I'm crazy to let him go, then I will. I also saw a vision of my husband standing up and giving a testimony in church of how his wife, restored the marriage and how great he is, how blessed he is to have someone like me, and I saw that vision. So we started again. He came home. We wrote a new marriage contract for ourselves.
Oh, wow. Marriage contract. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got
a marriage contract we wrote a marriage contract for ourselves. It's almost like he had a blueprint on how to rebuild trust, because he knew that wasn't my responsibility. My responsibility was just to say, okay, I forgive. His responsibility was to rebuild the trust. He actively did that. I had to then as well figure out that I needed to forgive her, which is a whole other story, which people don't think about.
Okay, let's talk about that real quickly. How did you forgive her? Because
that was next level thing. Yeah, that was next level. And here's the thing, it didn't even, Lady T, it didn't even occur to me. Like, she was out of my mind. Like, I'm focusing on my husband, I forgive him. Yeah. I just didn't even think about it. But it was when months later, he's doing everything that he could possibly do, physically, spiritually, romantically, everything, to rebuild the trust. But I was still really suffering, having panic attacks at work, and being at the train station. I never saw her, so any woman that I saw that I thought was remotely attractive, I'd be like, oh, it probably was her. I'd be like, breath gone, can't think,
that insecurity thing. Yeah.
So I remember at work, just had a panic attack, phoned my dad, crying in the car. And he was like, what's going on? Have you not forgiven? And I was like, I have. So I was thinking, maybe I don't know what forgiveness is. I said to my husband, I need to go away for a couple of days just to figure this all out. He completely backed it. And I went to this place called Sisters of Jesus. Basically, it's a nunnery. Nothing happens there. You don't have a phone, TV, nothing. It's just a room with a wardrobe, and that's it. And even the food is like dry, like they don't even speak, right? So, so I'm in this nunnery, just like, Lord, show me what forgiveness is or what's going on with me. I took a pink book that I'd had throughout this whole period that I was using as a journal. And when it was getting to the end of my stay there, I was writing in this journal and I was like, I don't understand what's happening. I truly do believe that I've forgiven my husband. Then I wrote this. Maybe it's not him I need to forgive. Maybe it's her. Girl, let me tell you, as I wrote the words her, this rage, this hatred that I didn't know was residing within me, it just came up. It was bad.
Wow.
And I knew in that place the Lord was saying to forgive her. So I got on my knees and I said over and over again, I knew her name, so I said, such and such, I forgive you and I love you with the love of Christ. And I kept saying it over and over again until literally, like a heavy weight that I didn't know I was carrying, it went. And I promise you, that was my healing done. That's why I can talk about this and be like, yeah, this happened and it was fine, because I'm completely healed from it. More than healed, it's a testimony of, being sick. I always say, my marriage had cancer. It was in the pits. And with the Lord's wisdom and with very, very practical principles that I don't think is taught enough, we created the marriage that we want to have. And our marriage has been completely healed and we've gone from the pits to passion.
Whoa, I love that. Pits to passion. What? That's a title right there. That's a title for a book.
Yes.
Pits to passion. What?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe.
But it's real quick, from Dr. Iyabo, she says, how do you trust again? Like, how did you begin to trust again?
Well, this is the thing. The trust isn't actually the person who has been betrayed, the betrayee. Is that a word? We'll go with it.
It is now.
It's not the betrayee's responsibility. Okay. Only being open to trusting again. That's all you need to do. The forgiveness is all on you. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. That's all on you. And being open to learn to trust again. So it's learned behavior. If there was I always give the example of, if my neighbor's dog, I've walked past this dog time and time again, and it has never bit me. And then one day it bites me. I'll forgive you, but I'm going to be so nervous each time. It's over time of the dog saying, look, it's okay. Walk past me. You see, I didn't bite you. Walk past me again. You see, I didn't bite you. That's how you learn to trust. So people get that mixed up. They'll be like, you've forgiven me. You should trust me. It doesn't happen that way.
Take time, like, for anything you do. Even if it's just not even just your partner, but like, with family, if they've done something to you, it's a process for trusting again.
It's a process and it's their responsibility to re-educate you because trust is learned. It's a learned behavior through experience. And, so now you've taught me that if I open up my heart to you, you can hurt me in a bad way. Now you need to unteach me that and teach me that I can trust you at all times. And so that's why I said my husband, I've done a YouTube video on this, on the steps that he took to very, very systematically and practically rebuild the trust, firstly by taking that responsibility on himself.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely, it's got to be, because if he wants to make the relationship work, then he will have to do all the steps he needs to in order to gain your trust again, which is important.
Yeah.
So someone just asked this really interesting question, actually. It said, some women can't stop snooping on the husbands who've cheated. How do you not snoop?
Right. So again, it's a learning how to trust. And it's about forgiveness. So once you've started to heal and you started to learn how to trust, then that sort of starts to go away. Listen, people are not robots. So you don't just behave because of behavior's sake. If you're still snooping, it means that you're still feeling very insecure. The trust isn't there yet. And maybe you haven't forgiven. So if that is still happening, you need to say to your husband, look, I'm still struggling with trust, and work out the areas why. Listen, my husband from the get-go said, look, it's going to take a lot of humility. But if there's anywhere I need to go, I'm going to ask you first. And if you're not comfortable, I won't go. Here's my phone, my password, my everything. Have it all. Go into my phone whenever you want to. Like, he just literally, he dropped certain friends. He was like that. And so if I woke up one morning and I said, babe, I really just don't want you to go, he would just be like, fine. And some people would be like, well, why would you want to control him like that? It's because we're both in this thing where we've said we need to rebuild this. So it wasn't about control. He was doing the work necessary. He'd created the monster. He was going to uncreate it. Then it gets to the point where you're like, I don't need to, because every time you've gone and you said you were going to call me, you did. Every time you said you were coming back, you came back. Like, you did everything you needed to do to make me trust you again. And then you get to the point where snooping doesn't come to you. So it's a behavior that comes because you are not settled. There's insecurity still there. The mistake people make is brushing it under the carpet and thinking it's just going to disappear. It is not. Get the help that you need to get, and get it quick.
Oh, straight up. I love that. And I think what I really respect about your husband is that obviously he knew what he had done, and it seems clear that he didn't want to lose you. Like, he's like, I don't want to, I'll be stupid to let this go. So it was like he wanted to work for the marriage. He actually wanted to put effort into it. And you don't get many people wanting to do that. So what would you say to couples where, so let's say either the wife or husband cheats, but then one half wants to really work at it and then the other one doesn't? What do you do in that case? Because it's just like, especially if they're the one that cheated themselves and the other couple wants to make things work, but they're not wanting to. Like, what do you do? What do you then do?
Yeah, it means that there's been a full-on breakdown in the marriage. Like, it wasn't working beforehand. The person who cheated does not see hope. You know, if you have something that you treasured and you broke it yourself, I mean, even just a material something, and you broke it yourself and you loved it enough to begin with, you would do the work to make it better, right? And so the person that betrays and then doesn't want to do the work, it means that there's something fundamental that they're actually not happy with in the marriage. And I've worked with couples like this, that when we've really dug deep, yes, the betrayer's done this big, massive thing, and there is no excuse for it. They have to carry that responsibility themselves. But actually, when we dig deep, maybe they're insecure themselves, they feel disrespected, they've not been loved for a long time in the way that they like to receive love, so they feel starved. It's like this cheating is just a reflection of how I really feel. And even after I've been caught, I don't have the energy or desire to rebuild this because the marriage itself is not working. And so you have to get help to uncover that and find out what is it that they're missing in this marriage. Right? Once that thing is discovered and it's said, look, you can get this here, then you'll find that they are more willing to put in the work.
Okay. So here's a scenario. A couple's getting engaged, and he or she cheats before, let's say, like, I don't know, 2-3 days before the wedding. Should he or she tell the spouse before, or go into the marriage, marry that person, and then tell them?
If that person marries the person and then tells them, they are wicked. It's wickedness. Why? Because you need to always give your spouse, one of the key things about relationships is freedom and liberty of choice. Nobody's being forced and locked into anything, particularly until you've actually signed that paper and said, I do. So if there's something that is major like that, you need to give the person that you profess to love the opportunity to say, can I deal with this? Do I need time to heal from this? Is this still what I want? Don't try and trap somebody and then say, oh, by the way, this is what I did, and now you're stuck here. That's wickedness.
I think that's very, like, it's wickedness that's so selfish. Like, it's
so selfish.
I'd rather, it's better for you to tell them beforehand so then they can make an informed choice whether they want to carry on or not. rather than now do it, now get married and then tell them. And then like you're literally spending the first year or 2 years of your marriage like at loggerheads and then, you know, going to therapy because of this lie that you took into the marriage. And it's just like, well, does that mean this whole marriage was based on a lie? Why would you do that?
Right. You know, and then here's the other side to that is finding something like that out and still marrying, thinking that the marriage is going to heal that behavior. It's really not the case. No. Marriage doesn't heal anything. Marriage highlights your crap. That's what it does. Marriage is a mirror, right? So if you were a terrible liar before, you managed to hide it all this time. Trust me, when you get into the marriage, that lying spirit will just manifest. Right? If you had a stinking attitude and you managed to hide it all the way through dating, you get married, it will be shown. Marriage does not heal. You can heal within the marriage, but it's best to know what you're going into and be prepared for the good and the bad. But don't think that once you get married, all those things that you've been seeing is just going to disappear. No, what it'll do is highlight it. And you guys can decide, you know what, I married you knowing this and we're deciding we're going to work through it. But don't have this misconception that the marriage will just make it all go away. It won't. Yeah.
Have you had clients where their marriage was highly influenced by an in-law with interference where it's okay, so which leads me to asking how do you deal with an interfering, you know, mother-in-law, father-in-law, or family member in the marriage? Because, you know, especially 3 people in your marriage, husband, wife, and God. But then what then happens when there's husband, wife, God, family member? What do you do? What do you do?
Listen, this is so serious. Oh God, no, listen, because if you knew the amount of couples I'm counseling and coaching, and this is one major issue. And I'm so upset with some mothers or fathers or siblings because they really just don't respect what marriage is all about. But one of my first rules is this. If you were grown enough to declare before God and before man that you have left to cleave, then actually do that, right? Don't be scared of mummy and daddy or siblings being upset with you because you've said that I'm grown now to make this leap, you know, to do this thing. So be grown. And here's the thing. When you set boundaries, people at first react because nobody likes change. They were so used to being all up in your business before. Now you're setting a boundary. They're going to react, you know, badly to it at first. But what happens is when somebody sticks by their principles, the negative reaction to that change suddenly starts to slowly turn into respect. Right? Because you teach people how to behave with you and how to operate with you. So you have to set the boundary. Here's the other thing. It's not for your spouse to set that boundary. It's you, the child of the interfering parent or the sibling to set the boundary. It's not, don't come and tell your wife to do it and have your wife or your mum arguing. No, you're supposed to do that. Yeah.
So it's supposed to be the husband or whichever wife or whoever
the parents or the siblings is. It's their responsibility. But make sure those boundaries are clear, right? Yeah. And know that the more that you stand with your principles, the more respect. I mean, you've gone and gotten married. You better grow up.
And then, like, because you do get some guys who are still mummy's boys in marriage, and it's just like
you can't be a mummy's boy in marriage.
But there are men who do that though. Yeah, that's the thing. There are women who are like stressing and struggling, and it's just like they can't win. Like every single thing you have to go to like your mother to be like, oh, you know, mom. It's just like, wait, hold on, who did you marry, your mother or your wife or the woman? Like, which one is it supposed to be?
And here's the thing, in that scenario, just absolutely know if there's any man watching this and you are the man that does that, know for sure that you are not the man of the home, your mum is. Woo! But I mean, she is. If you go to her for everything, you're definitely not the man of the house. So either take up your position or not.
Straight out. Well, you heard that. You are not the man of the house. Your mother is, if she's always interfering, especially if your mom is, boys. Okay, now you talked about something that I thought was quite interesting, the marriage contract. So, you know, especially for those who have been through, like, you know, infidelity or whatever it is in their marriage. Like, tell us about what the marriage contract is and what was, I don't know, maybe what was in yours, and what made.
I wish I brought it out. Yeah. So we decided that it was important not to just brush everything under the carpet, but to really say, right, we're going to start from scratch and determine what it is we need, what it is we want, what represents a good marriage for us individually. Because sometimes we just go in and we think that what we want is what our spouse wants, and it's not the case. So we drew a contract where I wrote what my needs were, what I wanted. He wrote the same, and then on the flip side, we addressed each other's needs. So I will do this to address that need. I will do that to address that need. We both wrote that on the paper. We wrote a Bible scripture that we would base our marriage on. And we signed that contract between us. And then what we did is that is a working document, as in every Valentine's and every anniversary. Yes, we would go out and have an amazing date, but that contract would always come out and we would assess our marriage against it and say, hey, how closely are you working towards the things that I needed and the things that you needed? And so that's how it worked. And that was, I mean, we still have it, and it's, you know, I don't even want to rewrite it or type it out because it's so precious to us, you know? Yeah. We've got it. It's a nice piece of paper in a little plastic thing, and it looks so old, but to us, and we literally designed the marriage that we wanted based on that.
Yeah, and do you think it's worth couples doing it in general, not just after infidelity, but just, you know, just in general, just to keep things, like, you know, fresh and just looking back at stuff and evaluating the marriage?
You know, let me tell you something. There's a couple that I'm coaching. No, sorry, it's an individual that I'm coaching now. It's a lady, and her husband is doing all sorts of stuff somewhere. But anyways, when we started to talk, we discovered that, bringing in love languages a bit here, that her love language is very much service. So all this time, she's been saying, I don't know what's wrong with him. I've been doing for him. I do this for him. I do that for him. I do this for him, right? But actually, through the coaching, we discovered that her husband's love language isn't doing. Like, he'll be like, thank you for doing that. Thanks for the food. But you've not touched his heart at all. It's not his expression of love. His expression of love is very, very tactile. He's very affectionate, and he loves his ego to be stroked. Yeah. He loves his ego to be stroked. So give him those words of affirmation. She says she never, ever has done for 12 years. And so we've discovered that they've been in a marriage for 12 years where he has been starved of the expression of love. Starved. I mean, if you're not loved in the way that you understand love, you will feel like you are not loved. Right? So it's so important to really, from the get-go, be very, very open and clear and say, hey, listen, this is what I need. I love you to make my food, but you know what? If you could say something nice to me every day, I would love that. If we could be more affectionate and hold hands more, I would love that. So let's be clear so that I know how to love you properly. Now, people get a bit like, well, that's not really love. It's not. It's an expression of love. But because we're human beings, the expression of love speaks more loudly to us than the deeper essences of love, right? So it's important that we understand what each other needs. And if you can do that at whatever level you are in your marriage, if you can sit down and really have a very, very truthful conversation about this and write your contract that you refer to every now and again, it's powerful.
Did you and your husband like write any expectations down, like right at the beginning of your marriage? Like, did you even talk about any expectations? Like, you know, going into this marriage, this is what I expect, or wanting, or needing. Did you do any of that?
Yeah, but there were ridiculous expectations based on unjustified social construct, things we'd heard, not based on what I call realistic expectations. So it was like a wife does this, a husband does that. You know, it's really sort of broad, not personalized enough. And here's the truth about expectations. A lot of times we don't know what we truly expect in line with our true needs until we're in the marriage. So a lot of times we go in with these ideas that have come from other people, right? And then we put pressure on our spouse, but it's not even what we really need. So, you know.
I think there are some things that are like, you can.
There's some core expectations that you would expect of a husband and a wife.
Yeah.
But there are some expectations, like, for example, you know, if a woman has seen that her friend's husband is the type that always buys flowers, right? Once they got married. You're not even much of a flower person yourself, number one. Number two, in all the times that you've been dating, your husband knows nothing about flowers. But now you got married, you've seen how that works in somebody else's marriage. And now suddenly this is like, you're not romantic. You don't do this thing for me. Well, that's an unrealistic expectation. Do you know what I mean? Like, so just being sure of where those expectations are coming from and if you truly need them. Is it a non-negotiable? Is it something that would just be nice? Do you understand what I'm saying? So maybe a non-negotiable for a man might be, she must respect me. Absolutely. I mean, that's pretty standard. But maybe it would be nice if not only does she sort of cook, but she bakes a lot. You know, she's a proper Mary Poppins. I know that my husband would love me to be a Mary Poppins type. Like, he would love it if every day he came home, I had this, you know, this penny on, a little bow in my, and greet him with a cake. Oh my days, like, he would love it. But that's an unrealistic expectation of me. So you either make yourself frustrated or you know who I am and have realistic expectations of me. I'm more likely to sit down and write you a business plan.
That's so funny. All right, let's ask this question. By the way, guys, if you're watching, if you have any questions, please put your questions, write them down, and then we'll get to them when we can. And you more ask, how do you identify your spouse's love language without him communicating it to you?
Ooh, great question. And you know what? It's easier than you think.
Really?
Yeah, it's easier than you think. Outside of doing the tests that I teach my coaching clients to do, you usually love people in the way that you want to be loved, right? Mm-hmm. So my husband is the type, he is like a superhero. Your car breaks, he does it. Something's up, he fixes it in the house. Like, he will, when he cleans, it's pulling out the oven. I'm going to show you how much I love you. Look how I clean behind this fridge. Like, that's his love, right? And his love is gifts as well. He loves buying me gifts and he loves to receive. So I learned that his love language is do something for him. Don't talk. Do something for him, because that's how he was loving me more often. And he would buy gifts, and I know his love language is a gift. So you check out how the person's default for you is usually their actual love language, and they have to step out of that default to love you in your way. So my love language is, I'm just like, tell me how great and beautiful I am all the time, and kiss me and touch me and just love me. I'm simple like that, right? But, I remember one day him, I organized this date night and we had a bottle of wine and everything. And he was just like, he went to I'd cooked. And I think to say thank you and to show me he loved me, when I say cleaned, pulled out the fridge, pulled out the oven. And I was so angry because I was like, no, it's not Great, thank you. But I'm here looking like a whole snack ready, and you're cleaning. And he was so baffled. Like, what is wrong with you? I did this for you. That was his love language. Mine was a different love language. So you check if your husband is the type that is always dropping a gift for you, and you're like, okay, it's great, but it's not my language. You know his love language though. Or if he's the type that always wants to sit and wants to hold your hand and stroke you and what have you, or you've seen that when you use great words with him, he really like blossomed, or he's the type that's always saying nice words to you, you can get a clue as to what his love language is.
Yeah, love that. Okay, hope that answers your question. So romance and you know, keeping things spicy in a marriage, because you know, listen, I'm whatever advice you have, let me know, because me, like I said, I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
So, you know, you guys have gone through all your hardships and stuff like that. You know, you're moving away from all the stuff, the infidelity that happened and whatnot. Also, actually, before I ask the next question, how was it? Was it hard for you to? Was it easy for you to forget what he had done? Because, and did you have any reminders? Because you know, sometimes like you can forgive someone for doing something, but then sometimes there can be little reminders, and it's just like, oh, like, how was that for you? Like,
yeah. I mean, I obviously haven't forgotten about it, because you know I'm talking about it with you now. I think the difference is that it's a wound that is completely healed. So I remember what I went through, but the pain has it's completely gone, and that is due to forgiving the two people. That's due to the work that we did within our marriage. That's due to the fact that our marriage is absolutely amazing now. That's due to choosing to forgive and let go, not trying to force myself to forgive and forget, because that's crazy. You're not superhuman. You're going to remember it. So it's not about forgiving, forgetting. It's about forgiving and letting go, and being open and vulnerable and ready for love again. Also, here's a really important thing. There's something, again, that I teach my clients. It's about deciding to operate from a place of your desire as opposed to your fear, right? Ooh. So if you're operating from a place of your fear, you stay stuck in that place of, yeah, but he might do it again, and I better keep an eye on his phone. Yeah, I'm going to keep those phone numbers. But what if he disappoints me again? What if he does that again? And deciding, actually, no, because I am healed and I'm operating in my healing and I know what I want. So let me focus on my desire, because that's what faith says. You focus on your desire. I want a marriage of peace. I have a marriage that is united. It's restored. My marriage is full of love, and I operate from that. I operate from that place. And so my actions, my responses, my thoughts, my mindset are based on my desires, not on my fear. If you're basing it on your fear, you stay in that stuck place. The third thing is removing shame. A lot of us stay stuck in that place because the shame of it all, the humiliation of it, you know, and it holds you back. You have to say, no, like, we have gone through this thing. If you are still within a marriage and you are in a marriage where you're rebuilding, it's a reason to praise God. Like, it's a reason to celebrate, right? So you remove the shame and you take away the blame. It wasn't your fault. Okay, so they're the things that really help to just, like, it's completely painless.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so back to the topic of, you know, spicing things up in your
my favorite.
I'm sure it is. So how do you spice up? Like, what do you do to keep the love alive, the passion alive in a relationship? Because sometimes that can, like, it can be all great in the beginning, and then you have this period it was like, which then leads to some other things. But how do you keep or maintain the passion in your relationship? Like, what things can you do? You can be as
I know you are. You're waiting for me to be naughty. I know you are.
Because a lot of people might be watching and they may want to be naughty. So, you know, we got to do that.
Well, let me be a bit scientific, practical, theoretical before I go to the naughty. And here's the thing, is that the great thing about passion is that it can be rebuilt. And a lot of people are separating and divorcing because they feel like they're falling out of love, whereas really they've only fallen out of passion, right? And so passion can be rebuilt. The first thing is, you said that, you get into it and it's all woo, woo, woo. Guess why it's all woo, woo, woo? Because you're actively making it that way. Right? In the beginning, same like if I get a new phone, the first time I get a phone, I don't want to take the case off it, and then I go and get it covered and I put the glass on top. After you've had that phone for 3 years, the glass is cracked, you don't change it. The case, you've lost it, you drop it, you don't care anymore. Like,
oh, hell no.
Right. When you looked after it, that phone was so precious to you. Right? Then you took it for granted. It was there every day. It's the same old phone. You took it for granted. Now you don't care. When you saw the cracks on it, you didn't go and get it fixed. Same with your marriage. You see the cracks, you don't bother with it. Oh, we've not had sex for 2 weeks. You don't put in any effort. We've not been on a date for 3 months. Who cares? You've not spent any time together for how many weeks? Oh, we're busy with work, whatever. Like, you're seeing the cracks and you don't do anything. Passion, dead. They're the things that kill the fire. So the first thing you've got to know is that the moment you stop caring, the moment you stop actively working on the passion, the moment you stop looking for the cracks, it starts to die. You stop fanning the fire, it will just die out. And here's the thing, it's so hard to rebuild a fire, but it's not so hard just to keep it going. Right? It's not so hard to keep it going. So one of the things that Mr. Chiwoko and I do is, number one, we don't use children as an excuse. Children wasn't, you didn't have children to come and destroy your marriage. So whenever possible, like, we are super affectionate. We don't allow sort of the children to get in the way of that. As much as possible, we will get them to go and stay with grandparents or whoever, and we get our date nights in. Usually about 3, maybe 4 times a year, we go away for dirty weekends where it's just me and him, and we can do what lovers do. We put in that extra effort, we make sure that we are trying to spend time together. And here's the thing, I call them passion alerts or fire dwindling alerts. So it might be either one of us. My husband might one day be like, we've not really had a date night, and he will do something about it. He'll book tickets. The last tickets he bought was Donald Jones. Oh my gosh, that was such a mess. Donald Jones can't sing. I promise you. No, I promise you, live. It was like, people were so angry. We'd waited years for this, and it was beyond a joke terrible. But anyway,
I won't be seeing Donald Jones then.
But here's the thing, remember that you guys are lovers. I think that sometimes we get into marriage and we get this really serious head on. You are the husband, you're supposed to be, you're the wife, you're the serious building. And we forget the whole lovers part of it. Do you know what I mean? We forget that. We forget that heat, that romance. We forget how music played a part in our music. We forget in our marriage. We forget dancing. We forget holding hands. We forget giving each other the wink. We forget how to flirt, right? Christians suffer with this the most. And
let's address that exactly. Christian, I'm sorry if you're a Christian on here and if you get like offended or uncomfortable, I'm not really
sorry about it, but it's the truth. Yeah,
but it is the truth. And I think, and I remember watching something on your page one time talking about how Christians are so rigid at times. They don't know how to like keep the. It's like they get married and then that's it. There's no passion. There's no love. There's no like. There's no the spark. Like that sexy spark is gone. You can't flirt. Yeah. Like, I don't understand. Why is that?
Even just that word sexy is like foreign to them. Why should I be sexy to him? What is sexy? And you know, the thing is, particularly women, I am going to talk to you because you forget that God created your man to be this tiger, this animalistic, hungry guy. You know what I mean? And men use their senses, their 5 senses, a lot: smell, touch, taste, feel. Right? And if you're not feeding those senses, right, it affects them. And just because he's a Christian didn't mean that his sex appeal or his sexuality died. And I'm hoping that yours didn't either. In fact, there should be more of a freedom, you know. And here's the other thing for women, that, you know, sex is not a sin. You're married now. It's like, I need to set some people free. You are married. Be sexy. Find that super short skirt. Wear those heels in bed. Do the necessary. Have fun with it. You've been waiting all these years and you're just going to go in and have prayer meeting every night. Sometimes not prayer meeting. Sometimes actual sex meeting. Sometimes actual sex meeting. No. And I'm talking passionately because it's things that I'm having to teach, right? Here's the other thing: femininity. And using the power of your femininity, right? And not being scared of it like it's a dirty word, or, you know, you have to take control, everything. Do you know what I think some of the issues is, actually? Let me be frank with you. And particularly with Christian marriages, we got the counseling from the pastor before we got married. Hey, God. Your pastor is not necessarily a marriage coach, right? And he may be struggling, or she is struggling with their sex life and their intimacy and all that. Okay. And then the other thing is, when you went back to him or her to talk about things, the only advice they were giving you was just pray. What's going on? Just pray. This is not happening. Just pray. There isn't a teaching about actual actions. How do you keep yourself attracted and attractive? How important is that? What sort of things can you do in the bedroom or not in the bedroom? Stop using the bedroom all the time. Like, how can you make sure that the passion stays there? What can we be wearing? How important is smell? And, you know, what games can we play? And are sex toys allowed? And just a freedom. Let me tell you about what I did with one girl in my church, right? This young girl was getting married, and I knew I had to set her free. I knew I had to. And so I took a friend of mine and I said, look, girl, we're gonna take you out. I'm gonna school you in some things. Just come ready, bring some cash. So she came and I took her straight to the Ann Summers shop. This girl walked into this shop shivering. She was shivering. She kept looking behind in case Pastor would walk past, or a member of the church. I said, it's all right, baby, you're free here, okay?
Bless her.
You know, and we talked about certain things, and I helped her pick out some lingerie and stuff, right? And then we sat down and we had coffee, and I gave her the talk, and I set her free. Do you know her husband called me and thanked me after they got married?
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. But I don't understand, what is it that makes, like, men or women, like, go, you know, you're okay, so you're wanting to get married. Great, fine, you're married. And then when it comes to, like, the sex part, because, you know, they tell you, okay, don't have sex before marriage, but they don't teach you how to maintain yourself, first of all, before, you know, going into marriage. But then they don't give you, like, tips. Like, this is what you need to do to make your marriage spicy. So, like, what is it that makes women or men get into their marriage and not put the work into, like, their sex life? Like,
well, it's exactly what you've just said. If you've been told that something is so bad and avoid it for so long, which is fine, we agree. But then as you're getting into it, you're not set free to say, right, not only, because all we say is, now you can go and have sex, go do it. Like, what if you've not done this thing for years? Like, a lot of us are going in as virgins, and suddenly you're in this night marriage night. You've got to get naked. You've never been naked in front of a man before in your entire life. Right? Not only be naked, you've got to do stuff that you've been told for how long you can't do, which is great. But it's that bit before. How are we setting people free? How are we preparing people? How are we releasing them and saying, hey, this is all okay. Enjoy it. And not only just telling them it's okay, telling them how necessary it is. How absolutely necessary it is. And, teaching them things like, even from a woman to a male point of view, that for men, it isn't just a, feel good thing. It's a need. It's an actual, in fact, for both sides, but for men, it's a particular need. Right?
It's a need. Yeah. It's
and
that's the thing.
Right, and people are still human beings, so you still need to be turned on. So it's not enough to finish frying fish and just come in, because you still need to be turned on. It's not enough.
Oh my gosh! Oh, okay, right. We need to talk more, because we're going to talk more about this, because this is why I'm so glad we started this thing early. Because there's a lot to talk about. Right. So we've got about 10 seconds remaining. This will go off and I'm going to come right back on. So guys, get your questions ready. We're going to come back again and then we're going to spend more. So 2 seconds and we'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
Checking the connection. Oh. Hey, Tilly. All right, just wait a couple of minutes for everyone to get back on. Okay. Oops. Oops. Okay, we are back. All right, guys. So if you've just joined in the second round, I'm speaking to the lovely Adaze Chiwoko. She runs a Marriage for Real coaching business for couples. And today we're talking about love, relationships, marriage. And in the last live, she talked about how infidelity in her marriage led her to set up Marriage for Real, and how she's helping other couples deal with such things and other issues in their marriages. And she said that this is probably the best thing that happened in her life, because it's led her to do what she's doing now. And she's on here talking about, we're talking about marriage, we're talking about relationships, and talking about how to come back from infidelity and the things you can do. And we were just currently talking about spicing things up in a marriage, okay? Because some people be lacking in that a little bit. So carry on what you were saying before, because there is another question. Oh gosh, there is another question I wanted to ask about, spicing things up.
I forgot what I was saying exactly.
Oh gosh, maybe I'll just go straight to the question then instead.
Okay.
So rather than what places can people go to spice things up? You said that why did you just need to do it in the bedroom? Things. So what are the things? Sometimes they're frying fish. Frying fish.
Oh, that's where I finished. Yes, frying fish. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
and also,
go ahead. Mm-hmm.
And also, how do you turn your spouse on? What kind of things can you do to turn your spouse on, so that to keep that alone?
Yeah. So, if you've got children, obviously you have to be a bit more careful. But if they're in beds upstairs, all places, is there a place where, as long as you can be alone, all places, so I think the key thing is take off sort of these limitations and fear, and just let your imagination run wild, Keep it enjoyable. If you've got a garden that nobody can seeing, then praise God for your lives.
In the garden.
But I mean, nobody can see. But if no one can see.
Oh my God. Wow,
okay. If no one can see, it's privacy, isn't it? As long as you guys are private.